talk this evening about pausing the spiral. And we're going to spend a little bit of time doing a simple emotional reset. I know for myself personally, I just got back from a little week-long birthday bash that we did. We went camping because it was Ken's birthday and my mom's birthday in the same week. So we went camping and I made them lasagna and a special pumpkin pie cake, and it was really good. And I just let myself chill, just relax, chill. I binge watched some things on my iPad. We sat outside, we had some campfires, and it was really relaxing. I just put everything off. And then when I got back here on Thursday, I think no, it was Friday afternoon. When I got back, all of a sudden I started getting that emotional spiral, knowing that I had a lot of things I wanted to get done while I was at home, because that's one of the good things about going camping is you can't take all of your tasks with you. You just leave them at home and you go there and you do your thing. I can make a few things there. I made some rings and things. Anyway, I got back and my emotions just started to spiral. And when that happens, often it can really feel like everything is speeding up all at once. Your thoughts, your reactions, your stress, and it can take on a life of its own. So, this little spotlight session tonight is going to offer you a gentle pause to help you kind of interrupt that spiral, regain your footing, without needing to maybe fix what's wrong with you or try to explain to yourself, why you didn't do more while you were gone camping, and without dropping the ball. That's kind of the way I was feeling, like maybe I was dropping the ball while I was gone camping. So for about the next 10 minutes in this live session, you are invited to notice what usually pulls you into an emotional spiral. And then we're going to practice a simple pause, and that's going to help you reset your nervous system. And a lot of times for me, I like to add essential oil because that stuff is really pretty good. And we're going to help maybe restore a sense of steadiness, even in the middle of intensity. So, we're not going to be able to stop the emotions necessarily. We're just going to practice creating space so that we can respond differently when it happens. So, we're going to talk about that right now on this spotlight session. And so I want you to think about yourself and where you are navigating roles of leadership. Now, it could be leadership of the home. It could be, you're in charge of the family budget, grocery shopping. Maybe you're an entrepreneur. And when we're doing things for others, not just when we do things for ourselves, but we can spiral then too. But when we're doing things for others, whether it's something that we are paid to do or we're volunteering, or it's a family situation, we can get spirals. We can have moments where we just kind of spin and worry and fret. And they often show up when something that we care about or something that's very important to us feels uncertain or maybe interrupted or out of control. Because a lot of times, as you well know in life, there's not a whole lot that we can control. We can control how we respond to things most of the time, but things can really get out of control quickly. And I experienced this a few weeks ago, the end of January. And I mentioned this before, and I just want to bring it up again. When my Etsy shop unexpectedly went, was shut down by Etsy, and I didn't know why. And boy, they said it was permanent suspension. I got an email, permanently suspended. I mean, that happens to us when in life situations too. Like when my first marriage was permanently suspended when my ex left me and decided he wanted a divorce. So things like that happen when we lose someone. It is permanent and it can't be reinstated no matter how many appeals we make. There's some things in life that can't be reinstated. So I think what helped me most when I was going through that Etsy thing a few weeks back, and then when I got home from camping and I was here at the house and I was sort of spiraling and actually getting anxiety because I just felt like there was a lot of things that I needed to get done, and I felt like I was behind. And I think what helped me the most was to stop trying to push through and figure out all the things that I have to get done by the end of the week or by the, beginning of March, and pause. So, because what I was doing was just reacting. I was reacting and I was getting stressed out. So, I took some time to just really pause long enough just to steady myself, to calm myself down, to tell myself that I can do one thing at a time. There's no need to rush. I'm not on a time clock necessarily. So this session that we're in right now, this spotlight session on pausing that spiral, it's not about stopping the emotions because oftentimes, we need to experience those emotions. We need to work through those emotions. We need to learn better coping mechanisms, coping strategies. And so we're talking about things that we can do to pause the spiral just long enough so you can regain your footing and you're not sitting there at your desk or in your recliner, with anxiety or getting kind of, I guess, a little bit edgy and even tearful, you know. That's sometimes how I get when I'm not handling things very well. And those things are okay too. But I want to be able to bounce back quicker. And that's why I practice calming myself down. I practice strategies that can help me identify that awareness real quickly and become more aware of the spiral. Got my Serenity blend. The Serenity blend is one of my favorites because it is good for calming, calming me down. It's good for anxiety. It's good to help people rest at night. So when things feel intense or I get restless or frustrated or whatever, I use it. So if you have a favorite essential oil that you use to calm you down, or maybe a candle that you like to burn, or some music you like to play, we're going to spend just a couple minutes here in quiet reflection. And I would like for you to just reflect on your own, think about it. The questions that I'm going to give you as we go through this awareness scan. And you're welcome to pop your answers in the chat if you'd like to. If you're watching on YouTube and you're catching the replay, you're welcome to um, comment below and we'll have a conversation as we talk about spiraling and how we can become more aware of spiraling. So I want us to think, first of all, We're going to take just a couple minutes to gently notice what happens before a spiral begins momentum. So we're talking about the behavior chain. And there's usually in the very beginning, there are certain things that happen. I remember in the classroom, all of my students, especially those with behavior problems, I knew that if this little thing happened, it wouldn't be long until it would get all blown out of proportion. It'd be wild, crazy. They'd be screaming, throwing things, whatever. So I learned to recognize what was going on in the very beginning and divert their attention right there in the very beginning so that this chain of behavior would not keep going. It's like I cut the link there from the very beginning. And before our own personal spiral gains momentum, we want to give ourselves an awareness scan. So I'm going to give you 3 questions, and I'll also put them down in the description box so that you have them. The first one is, what usually starts the spiral for you? So when you start feeling yourself spiral, is it a comment that someone makes? Like, is it in response to communication with someone? Is it a thought that you have? You're doing some things and and mine was a thought, thinking, okay, I've got all this stuff to do. I should have been working on it while I was gone camping and stuff. So mine was a thought and a feeling, actually, because I felt that anxiety in my chest. Maybe a memory. What is it for you that starts the spiral at the very beginning? And is it something pretty typical, not typical, predictable? Something in your life that is pretty predictable, and you know that that's going to start you spiraling. So that's number one, identifying where that chain of behavior starts. What's the first link in that chain? The second one is, what does your mind try to do next? So when you start to spiral, what does your mind try to do next? Does it try to solve the problem quickly? God, do more, do more, do more. Does it just start replaying those thoughts over and over? Does it try to predict what the outcome is going to be? I know what's going to happen if I have to do that, and if I have to say that, if I have to talk to her, and I know I'm going to do this or I'm going to do that. Or do you immediately go into this prepare mode where you're preparing and you're trying to sort things out when you're in the spiral? So that's your mind. So first, it's going to start with maybe a comment or a thought or a feeling or a memory, maybe. And then your mind takes over. That's what perpetuates that spiraling. It is your mind and where your mind goes. So I want you to think about that and write it down and put it in the chat if you want to. Do you automatically solve, replay it over and over again? Start predicting what you think the other person's going to do or say, or prepare? And then the third part of this scan is, what's one sign your body gives you that a spiral has started? Mine is often the anxiety, the anxious feelings. I start getting short of breath. I get anxious, and that's what my body does. So think about it. What is one sign that your body gives you? And you're welcome to put it in the chat, or if you want to talk about it more, send me a direct message. Let's connect. And if this is something that you would like to be able to sort through. So often, in these spirals, often what accelerates the spiral is a feeling of responsibility. It's knowing you have to make decisions. knowing you have to be the leader or in charge of doing something. You take the leadership role as a caregiver or in your career, in your relationships, whatever it might be, like I mentioned earlier, to the budget, or it's something that we've invested a lot of time and care into. And we just want it to be, yeah, perfect. We want it to be right. We don't want to make mistakes. But when we start to overanalyze, that is what's going to accelerate that spiral, that feeling of responsibility and overanalyzing. And so, what we're doing today, and what I encourage you to do when you're doing an awareness scan like this, is just to think it through. Use these three questions, think it through, jot it down. Don't even say, I shouldn't be doing this. What does my mind do? My mind is so stupid, it starts replaying. Don't put any judgment on it. Just write it down. Just acknowledge what happens when you're in a spiral and when you begin to spiral and as it accelerates. So now that we've talked about that, we've talked about just noticing what the patterns are using those three questions. Then is the time for us to reframe it. And so I want to offer you a reframe. Think about this. A spiral doesn't mean you're losing control. Because if you think that it means you're losing control, then it's just going to get worse. So a spiral doesn't mean you're losing control. What it does mean is that you have missed a pause. You've missed a pause. So let's backtrack a little bit and grab a pause. So this happens in leadership, it happens in business, it happens in our family relationships. It happens, in a lot of things that we do, especially in midlife, because we carry a lot of responsibilities. And we're often conditioned to move fast, to respond quickly, and to fix things immediately. And you know what? When we're in that constant state of heightened awareness, not the good kind of awareness, but the heightened anxiety about things, we can't be steady. We're like all up and down and spiraling. So we want to do what we can to get that steadiness. And that's what a pause does for you. That's what an awareness scan does for you. It helps you to steady. It helps you return to the moment that we are interrupting that urgency. So it's the pause that's going to interrupt that urgency, bring you back to steady, and help you to regroup, recalibrate, and move forward. That's it. And you don't have to, go all the way down in a spiral just to solve the problems. You just need to interrupt the spiral at the very beginning or in the middle if you didn't notice it soon enough. You are going to just interrupt the moment and pause. It doesn't mean you're avoiding anything. It doesn't mean you don't have a handle on what's going on. It just means you're taking time to give yourself an emotional reset. And those are so valuable. They feel so good when you do it too. When you can ease that anxiety. Remember, we talked about that physical piece. What is it that you do physically that helps you to realize that you're spiraling? Mine's anxiety, yours might be something else. An emotional reset is going to help you take care of that. So I just want to invite you to spend a few minutes completely quietly or in the chat if you want to share about it. And I want you to complete this sentence and think about this throughout the week as you're working on how to pause the spiral. When I notice a spiral starting, one simple pause I practice is, and I want you to share with me what that simple practice is when you start spiraling. What is it? Do you grab your essential oil? Do you go out for a walk? Do you get your coloring book out? Do you make jewelry? That's what I do sometimes. Because it's in those times when you just go in the moment that can very quickly interrupt that spiral. And it makes a big difference. So, even just placing your feet on the floor, standing up if you're at your desk or something, just stand up, get away from the computer, whatever it is. Breathe in and out, just a little bit longer breaths. Just wait before you respond. So, and another thing you could do is if you're, taking notes or working on paperwork, just have a notebook right next to you so that you can just write down one pause is enough, and that'll calm you. You just need something that will interrupt the spiral, interrupt the urgency. So this type of a pause is something you can apply to any conversation, any decision you need to make, any email you need to write, any moment that matters. You can do it. So I am so grateful to be able to spend this time with you and share some quick tips, not even quick tips, a simple awareness scan for you to stop the spiral. And if you would like to get a little bit more clarity on this type of content, I have a clarity challenge coming up next week, and I will put the link down if you'd like to register. It is 90 minutes, and we don't stream it into the group. It's just, and you can go to our events tab in the group, and you can find that and you can learn a little bit more about it. But I'll also put the information down below. I would love for you to join us for the clarity challenge. Or maybe you're someone who, you don't really want to put something on your calendar and be accountable to be there and stay there and interact with other people. Maybe you just want to do something on your own. I also have a clarity challenge self-study that gives you simple prompts for things that you can return to whenever you need that steadiness. So it's a simple, it's like a little course. I call it a self-study, and it's something that you can turn to anytime you feel like you need that extra support. So I'll put that link down there in the comments as well, if that's something you'd like to check out. So if you are in a season where your emotions feel tied to your leadership, your responsibilities, or something that you've built over time, this is your reminder. You don't need to react to regain control. You can pause your way back to clarity. It's that simple. All right. Thank you for joining me, and I will talk to you guys next time. Bye-bye.